I want to talk with you today about an idea so simple, so profound that it can transform every area of your life. It has done so for countless men and women throughout history. And yet, like most truths of great power, it is often ignored, not because it's complicated, but because it's so deceptively simple. It all begins with understanding this. Everything changes when you change the way you think. Now, you may have heard this said before, perhaps it sounded like a cliche, but let's consider it seriously for a moment. The way you think shapes your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your actions, and your actions shape your destiny. It cannot be otherwise. If your thoughts are scattered, unfocused, or negative, your life will reflect that. If your thoughts are clear, deliberate, and positive, your life must eventually mirror those thoughts. I want you to really take this in. And while you're listening, if you find even a spark of value in these words, I'd encourage you to support this message. Subscribe so you don't miss the ideas that could change your course forever. Like this video, if you believe in investing in your own mind, it's a small action but a meaningful one. A way of saying you're serious about your own growth. Because the moment you decide to take your thinking seriously, you cross an invisible line. You move from the ranks of those who drift to those who steer. You stop blaming circumstance and begin to assume responsibility. That shift alone can change your entire world. I want to share something with you. Most people will live their entire lives never realizing that they are not thinking at all. They are reacting. They are conforming. They are absorbing the noise of the world without ever filtering it through the discipline of their own mind. They assume their thoughts are their own, but they are not. They're borrowed, conditioned, programmed by family, society, culture. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Is it true? Is it serving me? The person who begins to question his own thinking is already light years ahead of the average man. And let me tell you this, thinking is work. It is not worrying. It is not daydreaming. It is the deliberate act of examining ideas, testing them against reason, weighing them against your goals. The man who does this is rare, but he is also the one who inevitably rises. I want you to think of your mind like a fertile field. It will return in abundance whatever you plant, but it does not care what you plant. You can plant seeds of success or seeds of failure, seeds of courage or seeds of fear. The soil will return poison just as easily as it will return nourishment. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and philosopher, said, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." William James, the father of modern psychology, said, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes of mind." These are not new ideas, but they remain unlearned by most. Why? Because they are simple. Because they demand responsibility. Because they cannot be delegated. No one can think for you. You must do it yourself. Most people avoid this responsibility. They prefer to let circumstances do their thinking. They prefer to complain about their employer, the economy, their upbringing, their luck. But the person who understands that he can change his life by changing his thoughts is free, truly free. And so I ask you, what have you been thinking about? What dominant ideas occupy your mind day after day? Because make no mistake, you are becoming what you think about. If you think about your goals with clarity and conviction, you will move toward them. If you think about fear and failure, you will drift toward them just as certainly. A man is where he is because that is exactly where he really wants to be, whether he will admit it or not. That can be hard to accept, but it is the first step toward change. Because once you accept that your thinking has created your current circumstances, you also realize that changing your thinking can create new circumstances. This is the great secret that has been taught throughout the ages. It is in the Bible, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." It is in the writings of every philosopher worth reading, and it is at the core of every success story ever told. But we live in an age of distraction, an age of noise. Never before have people been bombarded with so many competing messages, so many shiny objects, so much urgency that is not really urgent. Most will surrender to this noise. They will let others decide what they should care about, what they should fear, what they should want. But you must be different. You must guard your mind as your most precious possession. Decide now to take control of your thinking, to plant deliberately, not accidentally, to invest daily in ideas that elevate you. Read good books. Surround yourself with people who think independently. Listen to teachings that have stood the test of time. Reject cynicism and smallness, because your mind is always learning something. The only question is what? Some people spend more time planning a vacation than planning their own lives. They will research hotels, read reviews, compare prices. But when it comes to their mind, the very tool that determines every outcome, they leave it to chance. Do not make this mistake. Today, decide that you will become the master of your own mind. Do not settle for inherited thinking. Create your own. Because the moment you do, the world changes. Your relationships change because you no longer react emotionally to every slight or disagreement. Your finances change because you begin to see opportunity where others see risk. Your health changes because you start to value discipline over ease. Your entire sense of self changes because you realize that you can become whoever you decide to become. This is not motivational fluff. This is the most practical knowledge you will ever encounter. It is a law, like gravity. If you think small thoughts, you will live a small life. If you think noble thoughts, you will live a noble life. But you must choose those thoughts daily. Every morning, ask yourself, what am I planting today? Every evening, ask yourself, what have I sown? Do not abdicate this responsibility. No one can do it for you. Because everything changes when you think this way. Everything. Your confidence, your peace, your impact. So decide now. Think deliberately. Plant wisely. Guard carefully. Because the return on this investment is infinite. Phyllpitolis inde bekomtenopelba. There is a simple truth that has shaped the course of every life. Whether that person knew it or not, it is this: you become what you think about. It is so simple that most overlook it. They dismiss it as too easy, too obvious. And yet, if you look at your own life with honest eyes, you will see it proven over and over again. Think about the times you were determined, when you held an idea so clearly in your mind that you could see it, feel it, taste it. Didn't you move toward it even without knowing every step? Didn't opportunities seem to appear that matched your intention? And consider the times when you feared something deeply, when you worried over it constantly. Didn't you find yourself paralyzed? Or worse, didn't you sometimes create the very outcome you dreaded? We do not attract what we want. We attract what we are. And what we are is shaped by what we think about most of the time. Now, this is not mysticism. This is not magic. This is law, as certain as gravity. If you plant corn, you will harvest corn. Not wheat, not apples, corn. If you plant fear, you will reap limitation. If you plant ambition, discipline, and vision, you will reap growth and success. But you cannot plant both and expect only one to grow. Your mind, like fertile soil, will return in abundance whatever is planted in it. But it is you who decides what seeds to plant. No one can do that for you. So many people go through life unaware of this power. They let other people plant in their mind. They allow the news, gossip, and complaint to shape their beliefs. They say they want success, but they constantly dwell on failure. They say they want peace, but they constantly rehearse conflict. Now, they say they want prosperity, but they constantly talk about lack. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But everything changes when you think this way. When you realize that you are responsible for the garden of your own mind, you must become the careful, vigilant farmer. Pull the weeds of doubt the moment they appear. Water the seeds of courage daily. Expose your mind to the sunlight of wisdom, because no one else will do it for you. You see, the mind does not care what you plant. It will return poison just as generously as it will return fruit. It is not selective, it is obedient. So the question you must ask is not, will I harvest? For you will. The question is, what will I harvest? And that depends entirely on what you have chosen to plant. Now, many people will say, but Earl, I can't control every thought I have. Of course not. No one can stop every negative idea from flashing through the mind. But you can control which thoughts you entertain. You can control which thoughts you encourage. You can control which thoughts you repeat. You cannot stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from building a nest in your hair. This is the discipline of thought. This is the difference between the masses who drift and the few who direct. Because thought is the starting point of all achievement, Nothing was ever built, invented, or accomplished without first existing in someone's mind. And yet most people spend more time planning a weekend than they do planning their own life. They drift. They conform. They react. They go where the current takes them, never realizing they have a rudder in their hands. But you are listening now because you want more. And you can have more. But you must start with your thinking. You must become intentional. You must become selective. You must become disciplined. You see, the successful man is not the one without problems. He is the one who has learned to think differently about problems. He sees them not as barriers, but as opportunities to grow. He asks better questions. He trains his mind to look for solutions when others see only obstacles. He does not dwell on what he cannot control. He focuses on what he can do today. Because he knows that control begins with thought. He knows that his attitude is his greatest asset, and so he guards it carefully. Most people will say, "I'll change my attitude when things get better." But the wise man knows that things get better when he changes his attitude, because how you see the world determines what you do in it, and what you do in it determines what you get from it. Now, it is that simple, and yet so few will ever do it. Because it requires self-honesty. It requires humility. It requires discipline. But it is worth everything. Because when you change your thinking, you change your life. You move from being a victim to being a creator. You move from complaint to gratitude. From fear to courage. From limitation to abundance. I want you to think about this deeply. Want you to think about this Brautstweek for weary. What do you think about most of the time? Do you think about what you want or what you fear? Do you think about possibilities or limitations? Do you think about gratitude or resentment? Because your dominant thoughts shape your dominant emotions, and your emotions drive your behavior, and your behavior creates your results. This is not a trick. It is not a hack. It is the foundational truth of all success, and it begins in the quiet, private space of your own mind. So I invite you today to begin the most important work you will ever do, the work of thinking deliberately, of choosing thoughts that serve you, of rejecting thoughts that weaken you, of planting seeds that will grow into the life you truly want. Because you cannot live a positive life with a negative mind, and you cannot achieve big goals with small thinking. Decide today that you will no longer leave your thinking to chance. Decide that you will take responsibility for the thoughts you allow to grow. Because everything changes when you think this way. Everything. Most people will listen to an idea like this and nod along, agreeing in theory, only to return to their old patterns the moment the day presses in on them. They'll say, "That sounds good," but then allow worry and fear to dominate their thoughts. They'll drift back to complaining about circumstances, about what others are doing, about things outside their control. Let me remind you that understanding this principle is not enough. It must be practiced. It must be lived. Knowledge is not power unless it is applied. And thinking in a new way is not a single act, it is a discipline. Every day you must renew this commitment to your own mind. Every day you must stand guard at the door of your thoughts, because the world will constantly try to plant seeds in your mind. Seeds of doubt, fear, envy, anger. You must not allow it. You must be the farmer who chooses his crop deliberately. Imagine for a moment that your mind is a garden. If you do not plant flowers, weeds will grow automatically. The weeds do not need encouragement. They do not need permission. They arrive on the wind, uninvited, unannounced. Your fears, your doubts, your limiting beliefs, these are the weeds of the mind, and they are relentless. If you are not vigilant, they will choke out every good seed you plant. So you must cultivate daily. You must pull weeds when they appear. You must tend to your garden with care and intention, because no one else will do it for you. You see, most people believe they are thinking when they are merely remembering. They replay old fears, old failures, old criticisms. They allow these old recordings to shape their present and future. But to truly think is to create new patterns, to imagine new possibilities, to test your beliefs against reason and experience. It is to ask yourself, is this true? Is this useful? Is this the best thought I can hold right now? This is work, and that is why so few do it. But it is the most rewarding work there is. Because when you change your thinking, you change your feelings. When you change your feelings, you change your actions. When you change your actions, you change your results. And so the first thing you must do is decide. Decide that you will no longer be the victim of your own undisciplined mind. Decide that you will choose your thoughts as carefully as you would choose your friends. Decide that you will no longer allow your past to dictate your future. This is the true power of thought. William James said it best, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind." This is not philosophy in the abstract. It is the most practical idea you will ever use. Because you are where you are right now because of the thoughts you have habitually held, and if you want to be somewhere different tomorrow, you must begin to think differently today. Most people never make this connection. They blame luck, circumstance, other people. But the truth is that everything begins in the mind. The world is neutral. It is your interpretation of events that gives them meaning. It is your response to events that shapes your destiny. Consider two people facing the same setback. One sees it as defeat, the other as a lesson. One gives up, the other grows. The difference, we're not intelligence, not resources, not connections. Only one thing, the way they think about it. So I ask you, how do you think about the challenges in your life? Do you see them as curses or as opportunities to grow stronger, wiser, more resilient? Because how you see them determines what you do next. You see, the greatest freedom you will ever experience is the freedom to choose your thoughts. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, said that the last of human freedoms is the ability to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. They could imprison his body, but not his mind. Fawwadissented you. And if he could choose his thoughts in the worst of human conditions, can you not do so in yours? The truth is that most of us live in cages we have built for ourselves. Cages of fear. Cages of self-doubt. Cages of limitation. But these bars are made of thoughts, and they can be replaced. If you want more out of life, you must put more into your thinking. You must treat your mind as your most valuable possession, because it is. Most people will polish their car more than they will polish their thoughts. They will spend hours shopping for clothes, but not a minute examining their beliefs. They will invest in everything except themselves. But remember this, the best investment you will ever make is in your own mind. Because everything you have in your life right now is the result of what you have accepted in your mind. Your income, your relationships, your health. All of it began as thoughts. And if you want more, you must become more. You must think better thoughts, richer thoughts, stronger thoughts, more disciplined thoughts. Because you cannot live a better life without first thinking a better life. You cannot solve a problem with the same thinking that created it. So you must upgrade your thinking. You must demand more of yourself. This is not easy, but it is simple. But it is simple. But it is simple or chore with it common out not with a challenge. For it could be grained. Look, we 640 call stating us to be same with your dude, from Portugal 7. In a produce victims, so toward the arms in a range, be core qualk does that for 6 it. Then the full well lifty. The one thing go perfect get a call to any man. Ons but call to go but any till you. And we can't united me, Paul, the British you're being full of. We probably might have him stubbins and awkward Peter in next year the sum. And it is within your power. I encourage you today, make the decision. Decide to think for yourself. Decide to hold only thoughts that serve you. Decide to reject anything that diminishes you, and watch how everything changes. Because it will. Your results will change. Your emotions will change. Your relationships will change. Your entire experience of life will change. Not because the world changes, but because you do. And if you found value in these words, consider sharing them. Someone you know may need to hear this. And subscribing ensures you don't miss these reminders that can steer you back to the path when you stray. You see, we all need reminders, because the world will keep trying to make you forget. But you don't have to. You can choose to remember. And in remembering, you can choose to rise. Most people spend their lives waiting for things to get better, waiting for luck to arrive, waiting for someone to come along and save them. They think, when I get that job, then I'll feel confident. When I have more money, then I'll be generous. When people respect me, then I'll believe in myself. But life does not work that way. You don't become confident by waiting for success. You become successful because you choose to be confident first. You don't get more opportunities and then develop discipline. You develop discipline, and the opportunities appear. Everything you want is downstream from the thoughts you hold today. If you hold small, fearful, limited thoughts, you will act in small, fearful, limited ways, and life will reflect that back to you without fail. But if you hold bold, courageous, expansive thoughts, you will act boldly. You will take risks. You will persist. You will adapt. And life will eventually match you with the results you desire. This is why the quality of your thinking is not a trivial matter. It is the foundation upon which you build everything else. Imagine for a moment that you are the architect of your own life. Every thought you hold is a brick. Every belief is a beam. Every attitude is a wall or a window. What kind of structure are you building? Is it strong, resilient, beautiful, or is it crumbling, fragile, and dark? You cannot blame the materials if the blueprint is flawed. And your blueprint is your thinking. You see, life will test you. There is no avoiding this. Challenges will arise, setbacks will come, disappointments will sting. But the person who has trained his mind to think clearly, deliberately, and constructively will respond to these challenges differently than the one who has not. He will see meaning where others see only pain. He will see lessons where others see only failure. He will see possibilities where others see only endings. This is not naivete, it is mastery. It is the refusal to let circumstance dictate destiny. Because circumstances are neutral. It is your interpretation of them that makes them good or bad. And interpretation is a function of thought. Two men can lose a job. One curses the world, blames others, gives up. The other asks, what can I learn? What will I do next? How can I grow stronger from this? Same event, different thoughts, different lives. You see, no one escapes challenge, but you can choose how you meet it. You can choose to let it break you, or you can choose to let it build you. And that choice is made in thought. So I ask you today, what thoughts are you choosing? Are you rehearsing old grievances, fueling anger, feeding fear? Or are you cultivating gratitude, imagining possibility, building resilience? Because your mind is always working. It is always planting. And it is always growing something. Your job is to make sure it is growing what you want. What you want. But you want 20 seconds. They're to where you waffle terrajoen. I mektere persum seek. It is braffe. It is mel, bodies I worted, to make turn orb for nom sobs out sheer. Financially right nens. They gerb die nepwang for their 7 to ideas what she even mothituous. Ik sure come take a bodies spelks and not a beak on me a theas what she even mothich. This requires daily attention, daily discipline. It is not enough to think positively once and expect your life to change. Just as you cannot exercise once and expect to be fit forever, you cannot think deliberately once and expect lifelong transformation. It must become your habit, your way of being, your default mode. And yes, this is work, but it is the best work you will ever do. Because the return on this investment is infinite. It is the difference between a life of regret and a life of fulfillment, between drifting and steering, between reacting and creating. And you must choose. No one can choose for you. No one can do your thinking. And quan nou de passion, where you echoes out to tars of bliss comes. You must decide that you will no longer live on autopilot. That you will no longer surrender your mind to fear, gossip, negativity, and conformity. That you will take the reins. That you will decide what thoughts are worthy of you. Because you are worthy of great thoughts. You are worthy of thoughts that inspire action, that fuel courage, that create beauty and value in the world. But you must claim them. But you must nurture them. You must protect them, because the world will try to distract you. It will try to discourage you. But Terry, it will try to sell you on easy answers, quick fixes, and blame. But none of those will build the life you want. Only deliberate, disciplined thinking will do that. You may wonder, but where do I start? Start here. Notice your thoughts. Question them. Replace the unhelpful with the helpful. Replace fear with faith. Replace complaint with gratitude. Replace doubt with determination. Do this daily. Do it even when you don't feel like it. Do it especially when you don't feel like it. And watch what happens. Watch how your feelings begin to align, how your actions become consistent, how your results begin to shift. Because when you change your thinking, you change everything. This is the great secret. One we say, the secret that has been taught for centuries. What hidden in plain sight. It is not that life must change before you do. It is that you must change so that life can, and it all begins in the quiet space of your own mind. You may be listening to these words now thinking, I want this, I'm ready. If that's true, then act on it. Decide now that you will think deliberately, that you will invest daily in better thoughts, that you will refuse to let fear, anger, and doubt set the course of your life. Because you deserve more. And you can have more, but it begins with you. If these words have sparked something in you, share them. Let someone else hear what you needed to hear today. Subscribe so you stay connected to these reminders, because the world will keep trying to make you forget. But you don't have to. You can remember, and you can choose. Because everything changes when you think this way. Everything. You may wonder why this idea is not taught in every school, shouted from every rooftop, and woven into every part of our culture. Why don't we all learn as children that the most important thing we will ever control is the way we think? The answer is simple. It is because this knowledge carries responsibility. Once you know that your thoughts shape your life, you can no longer blame anyone else. You can no longer point to your upbringing, the government, the economy, or other people and say they hold you back. And most people do not want that responsibility. They want the comfort of believing that life simply happens to them, that they are unlucky, that they are victims of fate. Because the moment you accept responsibility for your thoughts, you accept responsibility for everything that follows. You cannot say, I want to be free, while insisting that others must change first. Freedom begins in the mind. You see, when you choose your thoughts, you choose your emotions. When you choose your emotions, you choose your actions. And when you choose your actions, you choose your results. This is not philosophy for its own sake. This is practical, real, and unavoidable. If you want to be wealthy, you must think the thoughts that produce wealth. If you want to be healthy, you must think the thoughts that produce health. If you want to be happy, you must think the thoughts that produce happiness. And you must do this not once, but daily. Because just as weeds will keep returning to an untended garden, negative, fearful, and lazy thoughts will keep returning to an untended mind. So you must become vigilant. You must become the watchman at the gate of your own consciousness. Now, this does not mean that you ignore reality. It means that you interpret reality in the most empowering way possible. Two men can face the same setback. One says, this is the end. The other says, this is a lesson. One gives up. The other grows. What was the difference? What? Only the way they thought about it. You see, circumstances matter far less than your response to them. And your response is always a product of your thinking. This is why the greatest gift you can give yourself is the discipline of thought. Most people will not do this. They will say it is too hard. They will say they don't have time. But think about this. How much time do you waste worrying? How much time do you spend complaining? Complaining. How much time do you spend resenting others? What if you redirected all that energy into deliberate, constructive thought? What if you asked yourself daily, what do I want? What do I need to think to move toward it? What can I do today to make progress? This is how the successful think. They do not wait for inspiration. They create it. They do not wait for the perfect moment. They act now. If they do not let emotions run wild, they train them. and they know that thinking is not something you do once. It is something you do always. It is a discipline. It is a habit. It is a way of life. When you adopt this mindset, everything changes. You begin to see opportunity where others see obstacles. You begin to notice ideas where others see problems. You begin to feel gratitude where others feel resentment. And slowly, steadily, your results begin to change. Not overnight, but inevitably. Because you cannot hold elevated constructive thoughts daily without eventually producing elevated constructive results. It is law, and it is unbreakable. What 10 million pi we can säga the noation, we wa we taunty, fire we chelm 65 ravi, or quarting files, fossils lum sets. It is as certain as gravity. And so I ask you today, will you accept this responsibility? Will you take ownership of your mind? Will you begin today to think deliberately? You do not need to have all the answers right now. You do not need to have it all figured out. If you only need to begin. Begin by noticing your thoughts, by questioning them, by asking, is this thought serving me? Is this thought moving me toward what I want? Is this thought worthy of the person I want to become? Most people never ask these questions. They accept every thought as truth. They forget that they have the power to choose. But you don't have to be like most people. You can be the exception. You can be the one who takes responsibility. You can be the one who changes everything by changing your thinking. You see, your mind is your most valuable possession. It is your most powerful tool. It is the only thing you truly own. Everything else can be taken away. But your ability to think, to choose your response, to direct your attention, that is yours alone. No one can steal it. No one can buy it. No one can use it for you. It is your sovereign territory. And the results you produce in life will always be equal to the quality of your thinking. So why not make it excellent? Why not make it strong? Why not make it deliberate? Because when you do, the world changes. Your circumstances change. Your relationships change. Your opportunities change. And most importantly, you change. You become the kind of person who can create, attract, and sustain the life you truly want. Not through force, not through luck, but through mastery of the one thing that shapes everything else, your mind. Decide today, because everything changes when you think this way. Everything.